Alright, the main issue is going to be keeping your body temperature up if you're stranded on the side of the road. Have, even a 12 volt blanket. They make heating blankets, is a great choice, but that's going to eat up battery power. The Versa Shelter, which is the rugged brown tarp, a couple hanks of paracord, and a big wool blanket goes a long way. Whether you're on the side changing a flat, putting your spare on, having that tarp available, or having something to put down is great. As that moisture barrier, as a thermal barrier, have a way of insulating yourself from the ground if you're going to be down there. And that may just be a small piece of plastic. It may be a cut down foam sleeping pad, but they're super nice to carry. At the very least, a lot of things that I would carry when I had the canopy on the truck is just a big piece of cardboard. You don't know how handy that is just to have in the back of the truck to get under there. This is the USGS, the whole sleeping bag. This is the green outer, the black inner, and the bivy. And this, with wearing properly rated long johns, will get you down to -50, the military says. It is my winter bag for sure, but you can see the bulk. I mean, you guys think wool blankets are bulky. I can get that wool blanket down pretty tight, but there's no hope for that thing. And I'll do a quick weight comparison. The wool blanket, tarp, and everything in there is right at, that's 6. The entire military is 9 pounds. So pick your poison. Now, with keeping your body temperature, if you do not have a sleeping bag or something that you're going to expect to curl up in the car and wait for help, if you're somebody that's going to be out there either somewhere where it's not well traveled, you're going to need to hike somewhere. That was part of the reason I weighed the Versa Shelter versus the sleeping bag. If you don't have a system, like I've got the Get Home bag, but that's a small kit, you're still going to need clothing in the winter time. Now, this is all Rivers West gear. I believe I talked about the River West pants in an earlier video. These were something that I was looking for when I wanted some winter pants to keep over just my synthetic long johns for when you stop and stuff when you're snowshoeing. I have a set of their, this is not River West, but these were Gore-Tex. They have 80 grams of insulate in them. They happen to match the camo pattern. But besides work gloves, have a way of maintaining your warmth. And here's a caveat that I want to say. I see a lot of winter kits, and I know a fact, knowing their other videos, knowing their circumstance, knowing that they have family members, if you guys are going to carry and tell me that you're going to carry an extra pair of gloves in your winter kit, I want to see a pair of winter gloves for your wife and your 2 kids. I want to see 4 pairs of gloves in that car, because you're not going to be alone when this happens. And again, this is another Oregon one, was the family that they were new to the area. I don't remember the circumstance. The father went to go get help, and he left the road. He thought he could cut the distance of the road, and they never found him. And they end up finding the wife and the kids are still in the car. But you're not going to be alone. You're going to be with your family. Now, if you're a solitary lone wolf guy, that's fine. Have 1 pair, no big deal. But I know a lot of you guys are putting your kits out on the internet, and you're telling me that, yeah, I got 1 pair of gloves. Well, you know what? I know you have 2 daughters and a wife, and I want to see a kit in the car for them also, especially some of you dads in the big vans and stuff. With this, I was kicking myself. Rivers West is from Seattle. I have one of their catalogs, and just kicking myself that I didn't get a chance to go there before I left Seattle, so that'll have to be a separate trip. But let me know if you guys want me to do a separate review on this stuff, or at least Google it. It is top-notch some of the hands down the best outdoor gear I've ever used. Now to finish off, your head, your clothes, is going to be what you put on your feet, your boots. My go-to boots are still the Asolos. I've got some work boots that are waterproof and warm, but these aren't insulated by any means. But I keep socks inside of them and put those behind the seat, and I don't have to worry about it. Now, if you're somebody that doesn't hike that often, what I would suggest is what they call an overboot. Overboot is a big waterproof insulated, boot that's made to go over your tennis shoes. These guys, you guys asked me about, I had some questions whether I still like them, and I absolutely love them. And that's something that goes in here as well. Look to my get home bag video. I put them on the boots. They are, let me get the name here. They are the Catahoula microspikes. And they are sold at REI. That was one of the reasons I wanted them for years, and I hate ordering stuff off the internet. So they finally carried them at REI. I know Yak Trax has redesigned theirs. I've not seen theirs yet, but I hear they're very similar to these. They have the silicone instead of the plastic like they had before, but these are hands down the best traction aid you're going to find out there. Make sure your lights work. That's crucial, especially in foggy and adverse conditions. If you have to pull over to the side of the road, make sure you've got the flashers, make sure your lights work, so no one else can hit you, really. Now, some of this got covered in my other series, and if any of you guys are posting comments and saying that I'm missing certain items, please have a working knowledge of my truck EDC video, and a more detailed of that is the 1 through 6 parts of the bug out vehicle. Some of the very first ones I went over, literally almost piece by piece of what I carry. But working on the side of the road, whether you're broken down or not, if you're putting on chains and you have to be outside your vehicle, have a way of signaling. I keep my road flares in this hard case instead of the one that comes with it. This guy is super reflective. There's blinky ones. Tactical Gearhead, I believe, has little flat ones that strobe, which are pretty cool. But have a way of signaling. It's no different than being lost in the woods and having a signal mirror and a whistle. Have a way to let other people know whether you need help or you're just on the side of the road and you want people to know where you're at so they don't hit you and freak out. With putting your chains on or any sort of majority of work, scraping windows, things on the outside of the vehicle where your hands are exposed, make sure you have good working winter gloves. Can't stress that enough. Don't rely on just your ski gloves when you're trying to change your chains and stuff like that. You guys saw these previously on I think it was one of my old get home bag videos. Same with these are the Thinsulate lined leather palm gloves. These now live in my rappelling kit for now. So these I keep in my mountain bag. These also usually these are very popular nowadays. This rubber lined, this one's a little bit thicker. It's got kind of a knit. It's actually a little warm. They're called chili grips. But have some sort of work glove. Even, just an extra pair of nitrile gloves. Something to keep your hands dry, etc. You don't know how well those actually work, especially as a moisture barrier. They will keep your hands warmer. If you put these on and then put on a pair of gloves, it'll increase it. In case you're actually stuck and you're out there longer and your hands start getting cold, put a vapor barrier on. Put a pair of nitrile gloves on underneath your work gloves. It'll increase your hand warmth exponentially. Fantastic. Just have a first aid kit. Doesn't have to be as large as this one, or maybe you would want to trade it out for a larger one. Remember in winter we do a lot of slippery sports and skiing and stuff. A lot of swollen ankles and hurt knees and elbows. So you might need a little bit bigger kit with more maybe cold compresses and stuff like that. But just make sure you have a first aid kit available. Alright, carry a shovel. I recommend something bigger than the little dig-it trowels that you use for the bathroom and the forest floor. I actually recommend a little bit bigger than the Gerber, which the smaller Gerber that I had. This is the larger Gerber. There's the size comparison there. I just myself always carry this. It's not a broadhead, which is a little bit easier for snow removal, but it has a sharp tip on it, and this thing you could stab into a tree. It's very sturdy steel. It's got a long shank, comes all the way up the handle, which is all steel. So snow shovels are nice, but I wouldn't necessarily keep them in their truck or your car for a rescue device or anything. If you want to, obviously this one unfolds so you have a nice full handle. Unfortunately, the winter last year I didn't get a chance to really put that through enough use to do a review on it. So I could have made a video and said, hey, I have this, but I want to make sure because this is actually a Lifeline shovel, and it was like $9.95 or something like that on sale. I think it was normally like 15 bucks. I got it at Fred Meyer, and you know, it really looks almost identical quality to some of the, you know, 40, 50, 60, $70 snow shovels you can buy at REI. It's very lightweight, very easily packable. That shovel end does come off. The only negative thing I could find is this is just a cheesy little rivet to keep the T-handle on. But again, we'll do a review later down the road. The Gerber here is a decent enough shovel. If you don't want to carry anything or don't have a lot of room, the Snow Claw is nice. I keep that in my mountain bag just because it doesn't take up any room. But you're gonna, if you get stuck, you're gonna remove snow around your tires. If you live in an area that has a lot of ice, I recommend getting something with a tip on it. You know, you don't need an actual snow shovel. You're not removing, you know, the driveway. You're trying to get yourself unstuck. And when you get to frozen dirt, frozen earth, you're going to want something that can really dig. And that's why I recommend the full size. But at least carry something. Another item I keep in the mountain bag, and I will do a separate video on that. There's too much crap in there, and it's not meant to be a standalone bag, but I've gotten an email before about wanting me to go over it because I mentioned it in a video. But I keep this little sport cat in here, and I was thinking about getting a Mr. Buddy this year, but this one has worked very well for me. It doesn't have the O2 sensor and stuff like that. You got to be on it, you know. It's not going to hold your hand. But it's warm enough to keep certainly the cab warm. It's also warm enough I use it in the back of the truck, and I've even used it in tents. It folds down pretty small. These little flaps pop in. But you'd be surprised, even carrying a small candle in one of your kits is enough to keep the frost off your windows from icing up. You know, it's not going to keep your body at 98.6, but it will certainly help. Obviously I have an older rig, so I have manual hubs. I lock these in and then go into the cab and shift it into four-wheel drive. Now, in the winter months, especially if you guys have four-wheel drive, if you're driving a newer vehicle, you still need to get it checked. Even the push buttons, automatics, make sure that your four-wheel drive system is up to snuff before you need it. You know, with the charging system on the everyday carry stuff, you know, we make sure you have jumper cables, but certainly a jump box is a great tool. And I'm absolutely finding new ways to use this thing every other day. Those of you that know me know that it's taken me a while to warm up to GPSs. This one has been in my possession for a little over a year, about a year and a half, and I have a video planned on it, and I use it more than I thought I would. I'll get into that at a later date. But they're not perfect. In fact, there was a husband and wife, it was not last year, I believe the year before, They were heading from Central Oregon area here, and they were heading, I believe, back to Utah or Nevada, somewhere southeast of here. And their GPS told them to take this road. It's a fairly main road. It's not a small dinky forest road or anything, but it gets closed in the winter when the snow gets too bad. Well, it hadn't been closed yet. It was actually snowing as they were going up there. As they went up further, the snow got deeper and deeper. And in fact, they tried to turn around once, couldn't, kept going a little bit further, hoping they'd find a town or someone. Didn't, got stuck. And luckily, I don't remember exactly if it was their phone or something, but this couple was actually prepared. They had sort of a mountain bag of goodies. They had snacks and food that they had just come from their family's house and things like that. They weren't totally screwed. It could have been a lot worse. With that, and that was just because their GPS, they were following it. Well, that road would have been fine in the springtime. So you never know. Oregon roads. With that, I have a whole U.S. atlas that I don't normally carry. Now that I'm out of Washington, I gotta purposely bring out the Oregon atlas and make sure that's in my kits, along with specialized maps of certain areas that I may go to. This is another one that I had fun following around, but I think there's an Oregon one that I'll have to get. And this is Washington byways. It's basically just back roads, fun drives, stuff like that. Nothing crazy off-road, but have a backup paper map. Even if it's just printing off the Google maps or something like that. And even that is a little bit tricky to trust because Google is not flawless. Now these I pulled out of my bug out bag. These were two that I kept in there. But, you know, they can be easy, simple things. You don't have to have whole atlases, but have some sort of paper map backup. I've got to get a version of this in Oregon now. This is the all plastic, can't get wet, can't get ruined, but this one is of Washington. Alright, have the proper safety equipment, recovery equipment. A lot of this is going to be redundant from the behind the seat videos, but again, have some sort of strap. A lot of guys like logging chain in the winter. I'm not a big proponent of logging chain. It's heavy, it rusts, but having a good snatch strap, properly rated clevis. I also like to carry, that I don't normally carry in the summer, is this off-road base for the high lift jack here. Helps in mud and sand and in snow, get you a bigger base footprint so that your high lift jack doesn't sink into the snow, which has happened many times. I've actually had to lift the back of the truck up and push it off to get it back onto the road and to get myself out. After several hours, we were out, lickety split. Now some folks will say carry some extra fluid and stuff. You've seen what I carry behind my seat. I carry a good amount on a daily basis. One thing I also carry is 5 gallons of extra gas. You guys know that because I don't have a fuel sender that works, so my fuel gauge, I was always, just in case if I pushed it a little too far before filling up gas, I always wanted to have 5 gallons on here. In the winter, I think it's equally as crucial to carry 5 gallons. Now, if you guys have some sort of an external box or something where you carry some of your chains and your dirty, gloves and stuff like that, you guys in your cars, it's a little bit harder to carry the gasoline, but they do have a replacement fuel for gasoline that's safer to carry in your trunks. There are several brands that make them. Google it. They're usually smaller though. They're usually like a 1 or 2 gallon tops as far as capacity. But if you're stuck on the side of the road and that's all you needed was gas, that's fine. There are a lot of, your AAAs, your GM Motor Service. I think even cell phone providers have some sort of roadside assistance nowadays. A lot of those I'm pretty wary of. AAA is one that I've trusted in the past, but it's pretty expensive for what they offer. When you need it and you use it, that's fine. I actually had the RV package because you had to have the RV package for motorcycles, and you actually got 100 miles of towing with that, and I think that was worth it if you know you're going to use it. And again, I have an older vehicle, but if you're using it, you only get 4 calls, so if one of those calls is just to unlock a door, the $150 a year may not be worth it. But they can bring you gas if that's your problem, if you're ran out of gas. Make sure the tires you have on your car or truck are adequate and are rated for the season. We're coming up on November 1st here, so you know, a lot of places allow studs now. The tires that I use are a Hankook MT. These are a 35-inch tire by 12.5 inches wide on a 15-inch rim. This is actually a new, my spare is brand new. But you can see I can also get them pinned for studs. One thing the shops won't do is they won't pin a tire that's already on the vehicle. There's too many chances of small rocks and debris plug those holes, and it's just a nightmare for the tire shops to put studs in. So keep that in mind. If you have a tire that maybe you got Les Schwab and other tires that you can get pinned for studs, and you're just like, hey, I'll just get studs, no big deal. The other thing to add traction is what they call siping, and it's a mechanical cut across the tire, and Les Schwab's got a really good demonstration of that. Of course, Les Schwab's probably only on the West Coast, so a lot of you guys might not know what I'm talking about. But your local tire shop, most tire shops can sipe your tires. So essentially, you'll see on a lot of like winter and ice tires, especially on cars. It just looks like there's 20 million little lines cut into that little tire. So when you get into larger truck tires and mud tires, these larger lugs are just a solid slick surface. They don't have any little fingers to grab anything. And so what they do is they'll come in and they'll actually cut that tire. Not only does it make your tire wear a little bit more evenly, you still allow your large lugs for the mud and the rocks and stuff, but you have all these tiny little fingers and little things that are grabbing the ice and the pavement, essentially. With your spare tire, make sure that it has air in it. Obviously, if you have an air compressor or something like that, that's great, but this is a great time to make sure that your spare is working, holding air. I've also got another video that I just got done shooting, but I've got my tire chains fitted on here. This was a different locking set you'll see in the other video. I wanted to make sure I knew how they went on. I wanted to make sure what size, etc., etc. Don't wait till the side of the mountain when State Patrol is giving you a ticket or telling you, forcing you to put chains on, to learn how to put your chains on. Know whether you're not really a truck, but if you have a car, know if it's rear wheel drive or front wheel drive. You don't know how many people, and I'm going to say it was in the Seattle area, had chains on the back wheels on a front wheel drive Honda. Just ridiculous. I can count on one hand the amount of people just last winter that I helped. Whether it was just telling them, hey dude, you got your chains on the wrong tire or not. Know how to put your chains on. Know what's correct for your vehicle. Alright, for traction aids, a lot of people use their floor mats. I don't carry floor mats in the pickup right now. I will be trying to see how well these, when connected laying flat, use as a traction aid. You can carry sand, kitty litter, anything that will help give you a little bit of traction, especially cars that don't have a lot of big tires. But I'm going to tell you one thing that will negate using that 90% of the time, the problem with a lot of cars. You want to know how to get better traction when it starts getting a little slick out there? Now, I don't care if you have a truck or a car or whatever. Lower your tire pressure. If your tires are supposed to be at, 40, 35, lower them down to 25, even 20 if you're not going to be hitting the highway, especially if it's slow and slick out. This may be something you can do if you live in a neighborhood, urban environment where it snows on the outskirts, but once you hit the city, you're not going to need your chains. I know in the Seattle area there were people that had to chain up just to get out of their neighborhood, but once they got to a mainline road, it was clear, and so they had to take the chains off. There's an extra half hour. Lowering your tire pressure, again, unless you're going to be hitting freeway speeds, I wouldn't worry about reinflating them right away. Down to 25 pressure, you're going to get a little bit less gas mileage, but it's going to enable you to get the traction you need without having to go into four-wheel drive. Half the time I'd be in two-wheel drive, rolling around all the neighborhoods that everyone was chaining up on. I do have a little bit larger tires, of course, but just taking the air out, not having a hard rock tire, having a soft tire that can be supple. And we talked about the siping. Get all in those fingers to grab all the little ice particles and all the little fingers and the rocks in the road. Just lowering your tire pressure is going to get you 90%. I guarantee it. And even then, if you can just get out of your neighborhood, maybe stop at a gas station, put air in, it's going to be a whole lot easier than taking on your chains on and off. So with your multiple layers of preparedness, you've got your EDC bag. This is the get home bag. Right now I'm sort of doing what I did on the video a couple years ago, is I'm just putting the winter stuff in. And with all the stuff behind the seat and a properly built get home bag, you should be all right, even without a lot of the stuff that we've talked about. Just being that prepared is a good peace of mind. But you got to have all the fun stuff too. In the winter, have a little snowshoe. This was one I kept in the truck, but we didn't get much snow last year. It was one of those thin little sleds that has little two handles in it, basically just rolled up plastic. I just kept it rolled up behind the seat. You never know. Usually when it snows in Seattle, everyone rushes out and buys sleds, and when you get to the store, you can't ever buy any. And this was a couple bucks. And we're going to try some other stuff if we get some snow this year. But that should conclude our winter preparedness. There may be things missing that you think you should do. Obviously, if you have a car or a truck, some of the things are going to differ. So just think of certain situations that you might find yourself in your area, with your vehicle, with your family, and try to overcome that. While you're going to work, just think in your head and mentally prepare, and that's really going to be 90% of what you're going to need. Thanks.